CEO accidentally slept on a single dad's shoulder. What happened mid-flight left her speechless. The moment the woman's head fell onto his shoulder, Ethan froze. The crying toddler in his lap had finally fallen asleep. His coffee had gone cold hours ago. His eyes were heavy from another sleepless night. And the last thing he expected on that crowded flight was for one of the most powerful women in the country to unknowingly rest her head against him as if she trusted him completely. But what happened a few hours later, 30,000 feet above the clouds, would change both of their lives forever. Before we begin, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of unexpected human connections, please like this video, comment below, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Kindness Love Stories for more emotional and inspiring stories. Ethan Walker was exhausted in a way that few people could understand. 3 years earlier, he had lost his wife, Sarah, after a sudden illness. One day they were planning their daughter's future, and the next, he was standing beside a hospital bed trying to accept a reality he never wanted. Since then, every day had been a battle. He worked 2 jobs, paid the bills, packed lunches, attended school meetings, and somehow found enough strength to smile for his 6-year-old daughter, Lily. Most people only saw a tired man carrying a child. They never saw the sacrifices hidden behind the dark circles under his eyes. They never saw the nights he skipped dinner so Lily could have something better. They never saw him sitting alone after she fell asleep, wondering if he was doing enough. On that morning, Ethan and Lily were flying to another city for a children's medical consultation. Lily had been experiencing health issues that worried him deeply. The trip had drained most of his savings, but he would have spent everything he owned if it meant helping his daughter. Several rows ahead sat Victoria Hayes, the CEO of a billion-dollar technology company. To the world, she was the definition of success. Magazine covers, business awards, luxury homes, and private meetings with powerful people filled her life. Yet behind the polished image was a woman carrying her own loneliness. Victoria had spent years building her empire. The higher she climbed, the fewer genuine connections remained. People admired her success, but very few truly knew her. Her schedule was packed, her phone never stopped ringing, and her life felt increasingly empty despite all her achievements. The flight was delayed for hours before takeoff. Victoria had barely slept after a week of non-stop meetings. Once the plane finally reached cruising altitude, exhaustion took over. Her eyes closed. Gradually, without realizing it, she leaned sideways until her head rested gently on Ethan's shoulder. Ethan noticed immediately. For a moment, he considered waking her. Then he looked down at Lily sleeping peacefully in his arms and glanced at the tired woman beside him. He saw not a famous CEO but simply another exhausted human being. So he stayed still. Minutes turned into hours. Passengers occasionally glanced toward them. Some recognized Victoria and whispered among themselves. Ethan ignored the attention. He simply held his sleeping daughter while making sure neither movement nor discomfort disturbed the stranger resting beside him. Then something unexpected happened. About halfway through the flight, Lily suddenly woke up struggling to breathe. Panic rushed through Ethan's body. His heart pounded as he searched frantically through his bag for her medication. His hands shook. The inhaler wasn't where it should have been. Every second felt like an eternity. The commotion woke Victoria instantly. What she saw next left her stunned. The exhausted father beside her wasn't worried about himself. He wasn't embarrassed by the attention. He wasn't asking anyone for help. His entire focus was on his daughter. Fear filled his eyes as he desperately searched for the medicine she needed. Without hesitation, Victoria stood and began helping him look. Flight attendants rushed over. Passengers searched beneath seats. The cabin suddenly became united by one small girl's struggle. Finally, the inhaler was found wedged between the seats. Relief swept across Ethan's face as Lily's breathing slowly returned to normal. Victoria watched closely. She had spent years evaluating people in boardrooms, negotiating contracts, and studying leadership. But in that moment, she witnessed something more powerful than any business achievement she had ever seen. She saw unconditional love. As Lily rested again, Ethan quietly thanked everyone who helped. Then he returned to comforting his daughter as if nothing extraordinary had happened. Victoria couldn't stop thinking about him. She noticed his worn shoes, his patched backpack, and the careful way he protected every dollar. She learned from casual conversation that he was traveling for Lily's medical care. She learned he worked multiple jobs. She learned he had lost his wife. Yet despite everything, there was no bitterness in him. Only love. For the first time in years, Victoria found herself questioning her own life. She had spent decades chasing success. Ethan spent every day chasing hope for someone else. When the plane finally landed, most passengers rushed toward the exits. Ethan remained seated, waiting for Lily to wake naturally. Victoria approached him one last time. She thanked him for letting her sleep on his shoulder. He laughed softly and said it was no problem. To him, it was a small act of kindness. To her, it was a reminder of humanity she had nearly forgotten. Weeks passed. Ethan returned to his difficult routine. He assumed he would never see Victoria again. Then one afternoon, he received a phone call that left him speechless. Victoria had quietly arranged for Lily's medical expenses to be fully covered. She began focusing more on people than profits. She launched programs supporting single parents within her company. She spent time listening to employees' stories instead of simply reviewing performance reports. One unexpected flight had reminded her that the most valuable things in life cannot be measured in dollars. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to Kindness Love Stories so more people can experience stories that restore faith in humanity. Special request, before the ending, comment below with the words, "Kindness changes lives," if you believe one small act of compassion can create a ripple effect that reaches farther than we ever imagine. As Ethan watched Lily run through a park months later, laughing beneath the golden sunlight, he thought about how close he had come to giving up hope. He never expected help from a stranger. He never expected kindness to arrive sitting beside him on an airplane. Yet sometimes life changes in the most unexpected moments. Sometimes a tired father carrying the weight of the world meets a lonely CEO carrying her own invisible burdens. And sometimes, in a world that often feels divided, a simple shoulder becomes the bridge that reminds two strangers that compassion still exists. And that is the beautiful truth about kindness. It may begin with a small gesture, but its impact can echo through lives forever. Red Heart.